Welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today because we are looking at the real unsung heroes of digital traffic control. If you've ever wondered how the chaotic, incredibly high-speed metropolis inside your computer actually functions without just completely grinding to a halt, well, you're in the right place. Today we're exploring encoders and decoders in VLSI design, which is, quite literally, the very pulse of modern digital systems. Let's get into it.
Have you ever stopped to think about this for a second? How does an Intel or ARM processor instantly find one specific memory cell out of billions and do it all in a fraction of a nanosecond? I mean, we just accept that it works, but the reality is an unfathomably massive problem of data routing. Every single click, every keystroke, every tiny pixel on your screen relies on a highly structured system to direct binary traffic exactly where it needs to go, right when it needs to be there.
Section 1. Translating binary information. Okay, let's dive into this and look at how information actually flows. To really grasp how our processes pull off this magic trick, we have to look at the fundamental combinational logic circuits. I like to think of them as mirror twins. On one side, we have decoders. These are our digital traffic cops. They take a small, compressed binary input, let's just call it n inputs, and they expand it into a wide array of up to 2 to the power of n outputs. Now on the flip side, we have encoders. If decoders are the traffic cops, encoders are your data zip files. They do the exact inverse. They compress up to 2 to the power of n spatial inputs down into a tight, neat n-bit binary output. Working together, they keep the whole shebang flowing efficiently.
Section 2. Decoders, expanding the code.
So how exactly does a compact little piece of binary code become such a precise selection? Well, the rules for decoders are wonderfully strict. The input-to-output relationship dictates that an n-bit input selects exactly one active output line out of all the possibilities. But the absolute crucial point here is the enable control, or EN. You can think of the enable pin as the master switch. If EN is 0, the entire decoder is turned off. It's effectively deaf to any inputs. This is a game changer for VLSI design because it allows engineers to cascade multiple decoders together or select specific chips without waking up the whole neighborhood. And depending on the system, these outputs can be active high, meaning the selected line flips to a 1, or active low, where it flips to a 0, which happens to be extremely common in memory chip select circuits.
Let's actually break down the math with a basic 2 to 4 decoder. So you have two inputs, A1 and A0. Assuming our enable pin is active, those two bits give us 4 possible combinations, right? 00, 01, 10, and 11. Notice how for every single unique input combination, exactly one output line, Y0 through Y3, lights up. A tiny 2-bit input isolates a single exclusive pathway out of 4 options.
And this brilliantly illustrates what happens when we forge that math into actual physical silicon. In a standard gate logic diagram for a 2 to 4 decoder, you'll notice how the input signals pass through inverters and feed into 4 separate AND gates. Because an AND gate only outputs a 1 when all its inputs are 1, this highly specific wiring guarantees that only one AND gate can ever fire at a given time for any given binary input. It is elegant, deterministic routing at its finest.
Section 3. Encoders, compressing the data. Let's look at the inverse.
All right, so what happens when we have vast amounts of spatial data, like pressing keys on a massive keyboard, and we need to squish it all down so a processor can read it? Enter the encoder. When we look at a standard 4 to 2 encoder truth table, we see 4 distinct input lines, D0 through D3. The encoder's only job is to scan those lines, find the single active input, and spit out its 2-bit binary address on the output. So if D3 is active, the output is simply 1, 1. 4 physical pathways compressed instantly into 2 little digital bits.
Now, what is truly fascinating about the physical realization of this, especially compared to the decoder we just looked at, is the sheer simplicity. Where the decoder used a strict, complex array of AND gates, a basic 4 to 2 encoder relies purely on OR gates. You literally just wire the inputs to the OR gates that correspond to the binary bits of their index. It's beautifully simple. But, as with all things in engineering, real-world physics always throws a wrench into this simplicity.
Section 4. The priority encoder solution. See, in a perfect, entirely theoretical universe, an encoder only receives one signal at a time. But what happens when 2 signals arrive at the exact same microsecond? This reveals the critical flaw of his standard encoder. It assumes only one input is active. If D1 and D2 light up at the same time, the standard OR gate logic completely breaks down and spits out an ambiguous, incorrect binary code. It's a traffic jam where the cars just morph into each other. And in VLSI design, ambiguity is a system crash just waiting to happen.
So to fix this mess, engineers developed the priority encoder. It does exactly what it sounds like. It assigns a strict hierarchy. If multiple inputs fire simultaneously, the encoder just ignores the lower-ranking ones and only outputs the code for the highest priority input. It's exactly like mashing two keys on your keyboard at once. The priority encoder ensures your computer only registers one definitive keystroke instead of totally freezing up. Plus, it adds this clever valid output bit just to let the system know, hey, an actual input is happening right now, which separates a real D0 signal from simply having no inputs at all.
So why does this matter so much? Well, consider this key insight from our source material. Interrupt controllers, like the Intel 8259 or the ARM NVIC, ensure the highest priority interrupt is serviced first. When your processor is juggling a network packet arriving, a mouse click, and a low battery warning literally all at the same time, the priority encoder acts as the ultimate bouncer. It ensures the most critical task gets serviced first. Without this, modern multitasking computing just wouldn't exist. No way.
Section 5. Transistors and CMOS logic.
Let's drop down a level now, away from abstract logic gates and into the nitty-gritty physical reality of microscopic silicon. When you're mapping these circuits onto a wafer, real estate is absolutely everything. Comparing the physical footprint of our mirrored twins is honestly super fascinating. A 3 to 8 decoder requires around 48 transistors, built heavily on NAND gates and inverters. But a 4 to 2 encoder, it only takes about 12 transistors, utilizing NOR gates. Expanding data is physically much heavier and requires significantly more space on a chip than compressing it.
And managing that footprint introduces three massive hurdles that VLSI engineers face every single day. First up, transistor sizing. They have to balance making transistors wider to reduce resistance against the fact that wider transistors create more capacitance, which completely throws off symmetric switching times. Second, propagation delay. A massive 10-bit decoder in an SRAM chip takes physical time for the signal to travel through all those gates. Engineers actually have to build multi-stage designs to cut down that delay. And third, power optimization. Millions of these gates switching constantly generates immense heat and drains batteries fast. Using clock and power gating to physically shut down inactive decoders is absolutely essential for things like our mobile phone processors.
Section 6. Real-world VLSI applications.
Okay, let's zoom all the way back out now. Where do these tiny digital traffic cops actually live in the real world? Well, they are everywhere. Take standard RAM chips, for example. Inside those little black rectangles, complex address decoders are taking memory addresses and instantly activating the one specific row and column needed to retrieve your data. Or consider an FPGA board. Field programmable gate arrays rely heavily on decoders to generate chip select signals and dynamically route pathways across the board's configurable logic blocks. They are literally the backbone of hardware communication.
Which leaves us with a pretty compelling thought to end on. As VLSI scaling pushes us down to 3-nanometer architectures and beyond, squeezing billions of more transistors into impossibly small heat-generating spaces, how will these fundamental encoders and decoders evolve? Can we actually continue to shrink our digital traffic cops without the logic just melting down under the extreme physical constraints of power and delay? It is quite literally the multi-billion-dollar question driving the entire semiconductor industry today. I hope this explainer gave you a whole new appreciation for the hidden logic running our world. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next one.